Hey Facebook, what's up? We are on the roof of our hotel here in Belo Horizonte. Arlo White, Kate Markgraf, Sebastian Salazar. We're about to leave, get on our little bus. Is it a bus?
Minibus, I think.
Minibus, I'd describe it. We're going to head to Estadio Mineirão, where the U.S. will play New Zealand in their first game. First day of the Olympics here. I know the opening ceremonies aren't for a couple days. Kate, let's start with you. What's your kind of vibe as we're hours away from the first kickoff now?
Well, always in the Olympics, you're just so excited. You're so excited to get the games going, and you have to balance that emotion and that excitement with why you're here, which is to be focused and stick to the game plan and win some games and set yourself up in the right foot leading into the rest of the tournament.
You've been going mad with your stickers. We'll get into New Zealand maybe a little bit later, but any kind of cool nuggets that you found about players on the U.S. team that jump out to you?
Well, I mean, this is a squad that's come into these games having dominated Olympic play in recent years. Only once have they failed to win the gold medal. That was a silver in 2000. We recently celebrated this week, in fact, Monday, the 20th anniversary of the first ever women's gold medal in soccer in Atlanta, won by the United States. So, this is a squad that arrives in terrific form. They've been almost unstoppable in this calendar year. And one thing I would say, Seb, about the Olympic soccer tournament is, we spent a couple of days in Rio when we first arrived, but we get to see the country. And I know that the players, having watched a couple of videos on the US soccer feed, they feel the same way as well. They're out of the madness. They're in Belo Horizonte. It's a place that was a little off the beaten track. They probably wouldn't come here as tourists, perhaps. They then go to Manaus, which is in the Amazon, and then who knows, with the quarterfinal and the semi-final before, hopefully for them, then they get back to Rio for the final at the wonderful Maracanã Stadium. So this is a unique Olympic experience, I think, and one that we're going to share with them. So pretty excited to get it started.
You mentioned all the travel, and we do have that trip to Manaus. The first three games really it's going to be interesting to watch how Jill Ellis manages this squad, because there's a lot of choices and she really has to focus on having the team ready for quarterfinals, semis, and hopefully the finals.
Well, there are 3 games in 7 days, an abbreviated schedule than they saw in the World Cup, so it's going to be critical that they utilize all 18 players to make sure that rotation allows each of them to perform at their best when they're called upon. But to be honest, as a former athlete that's played in 3 of these Olympics, it's good not to be in the village, in Rio in the beginning. There is such a distraction, and it's so easy to get caught up in the moment, taking pictures with all these other athletes from all the different countries, going to the cafeteria. You sit there for hours. So in a way, that's kind of the reward at the end of the tournament if you're lucky enough to get there. But it's nice to just have this be like a typical tournament and just focus just on soccer.
Waiting to get some of the comments going here on Facebook, but New Zealand is a team that I think people might sleep on. They think of a smaller football nation, maybe not a team with a ton of history, but they've had some good results of late. They're 17th in the world rankings, and they have some really talented players. Players scoring in Japan, Germany, England. Got some players that are known as really quality defenders in the National Women's Soccer League. So, the U.S. obviously the prohibitive favorite in this game, but by no means is it a walk in the park, I don't think.
No, New Zealand have made great strides in recent years. The USA have ended their last 2 Olympic campaigns at the group stage in Beijing. In the quarterfinals, a game we were at Newcastle in London 2012, but they're making strides. And as you say, I thought Tony Reddings, the coach, spoke very well at the press conference yesterday. We managed to hog the mic, didn't we, for about 7 or 8 questions. Forgot anyone else was there. It was just the NBC show. And he talked about the offensive prowess that they have, like a Hannah Wilkinson, who plays at Tennessee. Amber Hearn is their record goal scorer. Sarah Gregorius probably on one of the flanks today. So they do pose a threat, and they are very organised at the back. Probably a little more direct than the United States will hope to be, and certainly France will definitely be when we see them at the weekend. But it's a style that is suited them, and I think they are a threat to the USA today. But I think if they could get one win, and they might target Colombia, they could qualify again for the second straight Olympics for the quarterfinals with a best 3rd place. But they'll be aiming higher than that, I think.
Yeah, they're a good team. I think this could be a tougher game than people are maybe thinking for the U.S.
This is going to be a great team because their whole goal is to disrupt and frustrate the United States. And they do that by high pressure and just getting physical. And this is one of the teams that can actually match the United States in terms of their physicality. So if they're able to do that and they can just get a result, they just need 1 point between this game against the United States and the game against France. They beat Colombia, and they're most likely in. So it's not only about the result, but as I talked to one of the players on the team from New Zealand, she said, it's more about the performance because we need that confidence moving forward as we face France and Colombia and the rest of the group stage.
And we were watching in our rooms before coming down here. South Africa play a pretty technical game. They're an emerging nation. Well, New Zealand thrashed them 4-1 in Rio in the final warm-up game. So it's just an indication that they're hitting their stride.
And as we've seen, you mentioned the South Africa-Sweden game going on or kind of wrapping up right now. That team can pack it in. So the fact that New Zealand was able to break them down, I think, says something about the offensive firepower you were just mentioning. All right, we got some comments here. A lot of them are cheerleadery, I'll say. Mark Anthony Rivers wants to know, when's the first game? 6 p.m. Eastern, NBCSN. That's the most important thing that you can take from this. Carolina says, I love all the women's team because they're all so strong and determined, but I have to say, go USA. Let's see what else we got here. Go USA, says Patty Condon from Boston. All right, so let's look at the group kind of as a whole. I have said from the minute of the draw, as difficult as an opponent as France is, and I actually think they're the second best team in this tournament. I love the fact, if you're the U.S., that you get that high-level game in a non-elimination situation to test yourself. What do you think?
Well, I was at Hampden Park for the opening game, and this is where, as well, the US have to be wary of New Zealand today. It was against France, and France started brilliantly. They went 2-0 up, and it was testament to Pia Sundhage's side at the time that they were, I think, 3-2 up at half-time and eventually won by 4-2. But they were served real notice of the quality of the French side. Louisa Nassib, who they call the female Zidane, winds down her career here at this tournament. So she'll want to do something. I don't think France has necessarily performed and produced at the highest level. Everyone says what a beautiful team they are to watch, what great football they play. They haven't really translated that into medals and gongs, have they? So this will be the time to do it, to send Louisa Nassib off into retirement, with maybe a medal around her neck. But I think that game with this new US style, which is less direct, it's still solid. They still have the hallmarks of American women's soccer, but they're adding a little bit more flair, a little bit more nuance, and I think that game against the French is going to be easy on the eye, but a tough one for the United States.
And it's interesting, I could also see both coaches maybe not playing their full card in that game with the anticipation that you might see each other in the medal round. What do you think?
No, I don't think so at all. I think you want to come first.
You're disagreeing with me? What?
Sorry, Sebastian. No, I don't think so at all. And the reason why is you don't want to face Germany in that quarterfinal. You need to top the group, so you can avoid the higher quality teams later on in the knockout round. So I think the whole goal is to win this game today, then beat France, and you definitely will not hold back your best 11, just trying to play for better positioning.
I don't know if we got a buddy of yours here. Jonathan Molinero says, hi, Arlo. Curtis Pine
Hi,
says,
Jonathan.
Looking forward to the Matildas versus Canada. That might be the match of the day.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting group because the loser of that match is probably third in that group, and then might have to go and play Brazil in the quarterfinals. So you want no part of Brazil in Brazil, right?
No, absolutely not. Watch for Katrina Gorey. She's a little mini. They call her Mini. She's excellent on the ball, kind of drives everything in the attack. I love watching her play. She did great against the United States the last time they came out against each other. But yeah, you don't want to avoid Brazil. You want to avoid Brazil at all costs, because one of the best things about the Olympics being here as a soccer player, it's in Brazil. You get to play the beautiful game in the place that is responsible for making it so pretty with Pele and all the quality technical players you have. So it's an exciting time.
It's we got tons of comments now, but let's see. Coral says, "Go USA." That's pretty much the prevailing sentiment on the comment feed. Kelsey Eckford, though, gives us a great question. Thoughts on Megan Rapinoe's role back on the U.S. after her injury? Arlo, I'll start with you.
Well, we spoke to Jill Ellis last week, and she was good enough to give up her time. We had a really, I think, beneficial conference call. So we learned an awful lot about the background of what's going on, and I had to put to her whether she felt it was a risk to pick Megan Rapinoe, who, of course, tore her ACL in December. She came back, she started full contact training, then picked up a calf injury. So often happens when you come back from a major injury. It's the everything around it seems to suffer as a result of it. We spoke to her in the mix zone yesterday. She was in great spirits. She's such a great character to have around, which is partly why, aside from her quality, partly why she would have been selected. And that they have 4 alternates travelling with the team, training every day. So if she doesn't make it, and it's decided that at some point in the tournament she has to step aside, somebody else can come in. She might provide quality off the bench in some of the games. Maybe she gets a few more training sessions in. But I think today might be too soon. But she brings an awful lot to this team. The experience, her personality, and of course her quality if she can get on the field.
It was honestly kind of a controversial decision. A lot of people were surprised, but we heard Ellis in the press conference yesterday say she's a game changer, and she specifically mentioned set-piece service from Rapinoe. That sounds to me like a super sub late in this tournament.
Absolutely. I would hope to see her in the later stages of the group play, but I think we're going to see her more in hopefully the knockout rounds. It is her quality of service and crosses from the flanks. It's just world class. But more than anything, the reason why Megan Rapinoe is on this roster is because the quality of players that are healthy that play in the similar position, and they're all in form. So they're allowed to bring one player that maybe isn't as in form as Megan Rapinoe because she's coming back from this injury. Mallory Pugh, for example, Crystal Dunn, Tobin Heath, all these players, and Kristen Press, throw her in there. So all those players are playing at their top of their game. It's okay to bring someone along that brings those intangibles, that leadership in the locker room, and that fun and that spontaneity that kind of keeps everyone loose when the tensions get higher.
All right, I'm told our minibus is ready for us, so we have to head to Estadio Mineirao. But for Arlo, Kate, Sebastian, thanks for joining us on Facebook again. 6 p.m. Eastern Time, NBCSN, U.S. Women's National Team against New Zealand.